If Sega would do a collaboration with some company from China making the Sega Nomad 2, I think Anbernic would be one of those companies. With a simple reason, they already released something that is, in my opinion, just a freaking awesome device. This gives me some really cool Sega vibes, and this would be like one of the contenders for the Sega Nomad 2. Hey, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video we're going to be doing a chit chat about the retro or the RG Arc S, and we also have the D version, the dual version, but that's something I think is not really necessary to talk about. So what is the reason I want to talk about an old Anbernic product? Because this thing, the first time I just noticed it, I was getting some Sega vibes with this. So for the people who are not familiar with Anbernic releases, in my opinion, way too many handhelds, but this was absolutely one of those gems that they released throughout the years of many handheld releases. So this is actually absolutely one of my favorite ones, with the simple reason you can already see the form factor. This is having some form factor vibes when you're looking particular to the Sega Genesis or Mega Drive controller number 1. Only of course this is so much bigger, and it also have the configuration of the floating D-pad. The floating D-pad, one of my favorite D-pads to play with, and this is similar to when you're looking at, let's say, the Model 2 controller. Yeah, it's like slightly different, but it still has like the same kind of vibe going on. So this device is of course capable of playing way more than the Sega Genesis, but that's something I just wanted to mainly focus on. So the form factor is very comfortable, already a very nice floating D-pad, and of course the 6-button configuration that we don't see with every single device. Having 2 speakers at the front for the best stereo sound effect, and an overall emulation performance is quite good on these devices now. At the bottom we're finding 2 SD card slots, and one is going to be for the OS and the other one for adding games. Even having a headphone jack out, and where this thing is capable of running so much more, we even have an option for shoulder buttons for them. Over here we're having an HDMI, so we can even plug this thing into your monitor or your TV, and we can just play actually some cool games. Over here we're having the charge port and the OTG port, volume control. The F button is mostly like mapped for, let's say, menu, and the on and off switch of course. We can just hold it and let the thing boot up. So again, you have different kind of models. This is the translucent black version, but I think there's also like a black version, and that full black version is having even like more of a Sega vibe going on. But why revisit? Yeah, I mentioned before, Sega vibes, absolutely. Beautiful display and a lot of cool features. But I think this is just such a cool blast to the past with this device, like having this and just adding this to your collection. If like they're going to be doing a collaboration, this would be such a cool device to actually play your games with. We can just play all of your favorite games, and of course this is so much more powerful. This can run all kinds of different stuff all the way up to Dreamcast. However, Dreamcast and some other devices are of course a little bit of a different story, but including the bezel you can just actually see we can just play these games and have a lot of fun. The audio quality is just magnificent. One of the features I'm missing most of the time of these devices. Stereo effect, great emulation. And this is actually one of the reasons why I keep one of these devices in my collection. I've been reviewing so many of these, but it's such a blast to the past. Pressing the F button, we can even make quick load, quick save if you want to, and close the content and just go back to the main menu itself. So one of the things I think you need to take consideration if you're looking for a device to play all of your games. So the Sega Nomad, the original Sega Nomad with an IPS panel, is something I really love to add to my collection in the future and to make a video about. However, the downside is that these things are like super expensive and very rare to find. Of course, they need to be recapped. We need to add like an LCD display or at least an IPS in my opinion to have an okay, like fun experience. I do wonder where's the freaking button. Ah, there we go. Normally I'm like freaking pressing it, but now I need to search for it. But one thing is for sure, is like this thing is super reflective, particularly when you're going to be getting into the main menu. However, so this thing can of course do so much more. And this sounds kind of weird, but where we can play all kinds of stuff like Atomic Wave, Naomi, and 64 is a little bit of hit and miss, but we have all kinds of cool stuff like Open Bore. I love Open Bore, by the way. Personally, I would just delete everything and just put this like, just play some Sega Sega Genesis with this. But let's do a deep dive and just a quick overview of other systems, what you can do more like Sega Dreamcast, because there are a lot of cool different games you can just play with this. So starting off with some Dreamcast emulation, just want to showcase. But of course, if you're going to be choosing a different game, we can also get into the menu itself. This is the emulator, but I think it's a little bit also like a hassle with the Sega Dreamcast part. But again, with some, let's say, software updates, we can maybe get ourselves like a better overall OS, and these like shenanigans are over. So let's move to some arcade systems. Yeah, and this is such an interesting device when it comes to the handheld. And of course, playing some fighting games, the D-pad is one of my favorites too, because yeah, the D-pad of the Sega was just amazing. I can actually just mute the audio. And at this point, I'm just searching for my buttons, where my buttons are. But also here you can just hear that it's not like going to be perfect when it comes to the overall, let's say, situation of the software. But I mean, particularly when it comes to the backhand. Some weird thing going on, but the same story goes. Same emulator, same shenanigans. Let's turn it on and off. We'll hold the on and off button at least. And here we can go back when it comes to the menu itself. So, and of course we can also play some MAME games. So if you want to play some old school, let's say Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, you can actually do that without any problem whatsoever. Most of the time I do play the game 64 Street. This is such a fun game. I've been playing this on the game machine. And this is something I just love to revisit. It's just like a basic beat 'em up. It's not like, let's say that's great like the Street Raid series or other great Sega titles. But this is just a lot of fun, just experience. Oh yeah. But let's move to some other Sega stuff, and of course we can play some Master System too. So let's say if you're going to be making a collection out of, let's say, Master System, Sega Genesis, Sega CD and 32X, I think you would have like the ultimate device that we can play all the old school Sega games with. And you can even do a crazy thing like adding some arcade stuff if you want to. So let's see what you actually need to press. But also here, no problem whatsoever, of course, because these things are capable of running so much more. Okay, that's really weird. That was some really weird stuff. So I'm just going to be doing a deep dive into the other system anymore, with a simple reason. I already did a full review about testing everything out, and I'm still running on some older firmware, so I'm guessing a lot of stuff has been improved when it comes to that. But for me, I already mentioned in the beginning of this video, for me this is just going to be the ultimate handheld when it comes to playing Sega games, where we have like a zillion other devices that we can actually play Sega with. This is just giving me the nostalgia feel, thanks to, let's say, the form factor. Let's wait before he's going to be bashing me. Okay, let's go. This is such a funny game. And something we don't need to forget is just going to be plugging this thing into your television. Plug it in, reboot the device, and you're ready to go. Well, let's say we're going to be playing some Game Gear. A lot of devices are, let's say, getting the extremely widescreen shenanigans, but that's not with the Anbernic having a very nice bezel, where we do have like this very tiny screen. We can change it out, we can remove the bezels if you want to. There's a lot of stuff we can actually change out, but this is just a very cool way to just play Game Gear games on the go, on the television. So let's say you're going to be going to a hotel, there is an HDMI device there, like say in television, we can just actually play and just play these old school games on the go. And of course, when I mentioned if you're pressing the F button, in here we're getting retro arc, having the option to make a quick load, quick save, doing screenshot if you want to, and of course mess around with all kinds of options. Always be very careful with this, but let's say the on-screen overlay, you want to adjust the bezels, you can just change it out over here. Here, okay, display overlay, it's turned on, we can just turn it off and mess around with it if you want to. So there's a lot of stuff you can actually tweak with this. With Master System, we're having different layout. Of course, we're having a different aspect ratio. So that's going to be different than the Game Gear. But we can actually play this without any problem whatsoever. Oh man, going back to this. So personally, I never get myself, like, I never had, like, as a, back in the day when I was just playing on the NES, I never experienced the Sega. For me, it was like this, I completely skipped it. So if you want to play some Street of Rage, we're going to be doing that through the Mega Drive, or the Genesis at least. So let's try some Mega Drive or Genesis again. And you know, when I'm always having this handheld in my hand and just playing it again, you know, the D-pad, that is for me like the most popular way just to play these games, where a lot of devices have amazing D-pads. When different companies have like micro switch, they're like playing very nicely, but this is just the way how you want to play. But nevertheless, if you're going to be playing some old school games, this is just one of those many ways to go through. The form factor is maybe not the most convenient one out there, because we have like these tiny devices like a Mio Mini Plus or something that is just having so much more convenient when it comes to the size itself. But besides that, this is just a blast to the past. Here on the channel, I've been reviewing all kinds of different devices licensed by AdGames or other companies. And I can tell you, most of them were having always problems. I was quite disappointing. And then out of nothing, we having a random company like Anbernic releasing a handheld like this. This is just absolutely just how the Sega Nomad 2.0 should be. Having a beautiful screen, a nice format when it comes to the shell and HDMI output. Overall great emulation performance, and this is such a very nice, I can maybe say, quality product. I really enjoyed myself playing again. I hope you do love, like I say, enjoying these Sega videos. Consider subscribing, hit the little bell, and let me know in the comments what you think of the Sega Arc, Anbernic Arc. And it would be great to see you in the next video.